No, now my sound is gone. There we go. Good morning, Brand Live streamers and YFLPTY Ltd subscribers. It is a new month of June. New goals, new milestones to be checked. New month-end run has been completed. Budgets drafted. Yes? No? No budgets drafted? Month-end not completed? Oh dear. What has happened there? Robert Kiyosaki stated, if you only make enough for food and rent and basic living, and the rent and food suppliers was owned by your employers, aren't you just a slave? The unfortunate thing in financial literacy, which brings most people down, is a lack of planning. Proper planning prevents poor performance. And if you don't do your planning properly, unfortunately, you're not going to reach those goals. You're not going to reach those milestones. You are not going to reach that financial freedom dream. Now, unfortunately, this morning we were supposed to have a visitor, and as per yet, I have no idea what's happened to him. But we'll bring him in next week again. So this week we'll answer a couple of questions and take it from there. Now, last week's questions that we answered, there was one or two more questions that was submitted that I didn't have a chance to answer. One of the questions came from Philip asking what exactly is financial literacy. Now, financial literacy is not financial education. We need to clearly understand the difference between the two. Financial education comes down to your education in accounting, economics, working with numbers, taking all those numbers, putting them into different statements and budgets, and getting a result from it, a trial balance, an income statement, a balance sheet. That is financial education. Financial literacy is to be aware of what you are spending, what's coming in, what's going out. What financial problems do you have and how to overcome them? That's where your financial literacy comes in. Your awareness about your finances and the choices that you make. Are you spending too much money on luxuries instead of doing the basics? Are you succumbing to Parkinson's second law? Or are you watching what's going in the bucket and where it's going out? That is what financial literacy is. Our next question is based on the works of Robert Kiyosaki, where Charmaine asked me exactly what is the difference between being self-employed and a business owner. Now, unfortunately, with self-employed, 9 times out of 10, you find that the person has started a business for themselves, but they are so busy in the business that they don't get to run the business. They're so busy working in the business, doing what needs to be done to keep the business afloat, instead of planning what is going to happen. A business owner, based on Robert Kiyosaki's terminology, is somebody that is running a business with 500 plus employees. So there's a big difference between being self-employed or a specialist, like a doctor or a lawyer or even a plumber or a mechanic, having his own workshop, and being a business owner that employs more than 500 employees. There's a big difference in the books too, because where the self-employed, if not working themselves, does not generate an income, where the business owner, he doesn't have to be there, is still generating an income through his employees, through the business working for him. Our next question comes from Kim, who asked, what exactly does she need to do to structure her own business? She's got an idea, but she has no idea where to start. Does she just start from putting her product or service out in the market? Or is there a certain kind of planning that she needs to put in place beforehand? Well, Charmaine, I will answer you this way. You first need to put everything on paper. And no, I'm not talking about the standard business plan. I'm talking about a business map. Knowing exactly where you are now, what you are going to provide, how you're going to provide this product or service to your preferred market. And yes, you'll have to do some research on what is your preferred market. Who are you going to deliver the service to? Remember, you can't please all the people all the time. So there is a preferred market that you have to deliver your products to. Not everybody is going to want beauty products, for that matter of fact. Not everybody is going to want health products. Yes, health products is the new latest craze, but there's quite a few people that still like their fatty foods and their fast foods and is not quite ready to do the health thing. So you have to establish what is your target market. How are you going to deliver that to them? But more importantly, you'll have to have a set of systems in the background running to determine, to measure, to know what are you delivering for who? How are you delivering it? What is the results of your input? What is the results of your output? Remember, Rome wasn't built in one day. And you only find that once you have put in the hard work and tracked what you are doing, that you will be able to put a proper system to run a proper business, if that is what you want to do. If you just want to learn from the experience, then I would suggest join a multi-level marketing company and learn from them how to put the systems in place, how to track what has been sold, how to track what has been delivered. Learn from their training. And once you have done that and you still feel this is the route that you want to take, then take what you've learned and implement it into your own business. My next question comes from Sean, who asked, what is the difference, or how can you determine what the difference is between cash flow and profit? Well, first off, it's two completely different measurements of money. Your cash flow is literally the money in your petty cash box that you can use for training, for development, for those opportunities that knock at your door. Profit is what you put away. That is your result after you have generated your income, deducted all your expenses, paid your employees, paid all the necessary fees and service agreements, and then still have that to put away to reinvest into your business. Cash flow is there to be used. Profit is to be reinvested. Now, reinvesting that into yourself or reinvesting that into your business, that's where the question comes. Reinvesting your cash flow into assets to generate more income and reinvesting profit into assets to generate more income is an equivalent to each other. But you have to determine exactly where that cash comes from. Is that cash out of your profit account, or is that cash out of your cash flow account? Knowing the difference between the two, that is what's going to make the crux for you. Being accountable with regards to where did you obtain that cash flow. That is where you need to get your sums together. Because at the end of the day, if you don't track those numbers, you're quickly going to lose sight of what was profit and what was cash flow to be used. My next question comes from Michael, who said that he's got 3 employees currently in his little business, of which the one shows a lot of potential with regards to running the business in his absence. He wanted to know how can he upskill this employee to take over and run his business when he's not there. Well, Michael, it will purely depend on what kind of business you have and what kind of skills does your employee already have. You need to sit down with the selected employee and do a complete analysis of what his education level is like, and then determine what skills does he need to basically replace you. If there are some skills, soft skills that needs to be learned, you can teach that to him in-house by letting him shadowing you. Take him along with everything that you do and ask him questions as you go along to see if he understands what it is that you do and how you do it. If it's hard skills, then there are more education facilities these days than there's ever been. Those hard skills can be learned online. There are colleges all over that you can look for that specific hard skills that he needs to require. But most importantly, I think you first have to have a discussion with him to see if it's in his interest, if he is interested rather, in taking over the business from you. Is he interested in running the business? Or is it a scenario of he's just a very good employee and learning the skills from you at this stage to move on to bigger and better things in the future? Once the two of you come to an understanding, then you can take it further. Just remember, you can't make decisions for somebody else's life without their consent to it. And once you've had that discussion, then you can determine if it is the right choice to make. But now first, we're going to take an ad break, and I'll see you afterwards. And we are back. You're listening to the Financial Independence Show, brought to you by brandslife.co.za and Yeffel Pty Ltd. My next question comes from a young gentleman who is in his final years of study and requested to remain anonymous. He has now he's halfway through his final year, and he wanted to know which way to take his career. Now, in short, he gives me a full rundown of exactly what he has been studying and what his options are after he's obtained his degree. But his question comes down to, does he take the opportunity where he can learn at a lesser income, or does he take the high-paying opportunity where he's basically left on his own? Now, young Mr. Anonymous, although it might not make financial sense to everybody, I would advise you to take the opportunity that pays less, but where you are under the supervision, the expertise of somebody else and learn all you can learn. There's no price that you can pay for experience. And while you are in, although a lesser paying employment, the experience that you gain from it will be worth more to you at the end of the day than having those financial gains of that higher paying opportunity now. One of my mentors has stated that rather work for free and earn an education than obtain a huge salary and not learn anything from it at the end of the day. So take the lesser paying opportunity. Learn what you need to learn from it. At the end of the day, that experience you won't be able to gain anywhere else. In my 20 plus years in the financial industry, every single time I moved from the banks to the accounting to the insurance, from personal to commercial, I spent time under a product specialist as such to learn from them what they know and what they have experienced already in the industry, so that when I go out to see clients, I've got something to fall back on. There is nothing more self-demoting than having all the education on paper in your back pocket, walking into a scenario and falling flat on your face. Yes, it is a learning experience, but if you have mentors that can guide you through the whole experience, that can lead you, that can advise you, it's worth more than that high salary paycheck that you will receive from the higher opportunity. My next question comes from Sally, who states that over the last couple of months, she had seen quite an increase from supposed friends advertising all kinds of loan facilities on her timeline. Now, as she is in a bit of a financial crux at the moment, she wanted to know, is it possible or is it trustworthy to use one of these loan facilities? Now, Sally, I have been for the last couple of weeks trying to get hold of some of these supposed loan facilities. And what I can tell you from my experience in the financial industry is the following. Number one, if they are not registered as a credit providing financial institution, means that they do not comply with the law as it is currently in South Africa. Secondly, they should in some way be registered or recognized by the National Credit Act. Have a compliance officer to ensure that they are above board. If these facilities cannot prove this to you, unfortunately, then I have to say, I'm not too sure if you can trust them. I've heard of so many scams already where people were invited to borrow money from from these sort of like facilities, and they've provided them with every single thing from 3 months pay slips to a copy of the ID, all the proof of residence and everything. And at the end of the day, they didn't receive anything. What they did receive was identity theft. Somebody else using their credentials, their proof of residence, their ID number to go and make debt somewhere. Now, if these facilities or providers that are advertising on Facebook are one and the same, I cannot say. because none of them has contacted me back. I don't know if it's a scenario that they are overworked and maybe just don't want to give the information out. But I cannot find a FSP number for them. So that in itself tells me that they're not a financial service provider as registered by the law of South Africa. Then that brings questions to mind. Can you trust them? Can you provide them your information just up front and hope that nobody's going to steal it? I can't say. What I can suggest is do your due diligence on it. Do an investigation for yourself to see if you can find more information about these people, if you can find somebody to actually directly speak to. Alternatively, I would rather suggest go to your own financial institution, your bank, where your salary is being paid into. They would be the best to go and ask if you can afford to have an additional credit facility or additional credit line. If the bank says no, then there's a reason why they say no. 9 times out of 10, they based it on formulas to establish if you have the capacity to pay that back. And unfortunately, as we are moving into a scenario where everything is getting more expensive and more expensive, petrol price is going up again, and it's going to go up again in July, everything is getting more expensive. I would rather suggest, why not relook your budget and see what is it that you really need and what is it that you want before establishing another line of credit that you have to going to be responsible for at the end of the month and a payment, which is just going to put more pressure on you at the end of the day. So that brings us to the end of our questions for today. As I stated before, for any questions, you guys can submit them directly to our Facebook page, which is at YEVL PTY Ltd, or directly to our business WhatsApp line, which is 065 899 1918. If it is a long story that you want to write to me, then you can email me at admin@yevl.co.za. That's admin@yevl.co.za. And that brings us to the end of this week's show. I will see you guys next week, same time, same place, here at brandslive.co.za, streaming live from 27 Boxes in Melville. Have yourselves an absolutely great week. Remember to go and fill up your petrol tanks before Wednesday with our price hike. Enjoy, and we'll see you next week. Shalom.